more the like, wow, you did that, right? Versus, saying something wrong, or it's that, yeah, I don't like being the center of attention, that kind of thing. So
Well, you jumped out alone?
The thing that we did in Canada, it's called static line. So you don't go up as high as the tandem, but essentially when you jump out, there's a rope that pulls your chute out for you. So yeah, you're alone. You have to go through lots of training on how to, if your chute doesn't come up, how to get the new one out and get that one off. And so it was a lot of fun. I did go tandem here later, and it wasn't quite the same. There's nothing like being up in the air by yourself, like controlling your own parachute. So
I don't know about you, but I don't ever need to.
Nope, I'm staying on the ground.
Well, I've got kids now, so it's probably not ever going to happen again, but at the time. And actually the training really shows you it's really difficult to actually have something go wrong. Most of the time when things go bad is when people are doing like the big formations, or somebody didn't do something right, but in general it's actually pretty safe.
All right.
Yeah.
We're all here now. So hi, Michelle. And this is Becky.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
So we've started talking to one another just a little bit. So tell us where you're from, Michelle.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Michelle and I'm from Jamaica.
Right now, today, that's where you're calling from?
Right. Currently, I'm in Jamaica.
That sounds so exotic. And are you here basically, Michelle, for business-related writing or personal?
Personal. So I am looking to write, I kind of have the name already, but the idea is I want to write letters to my moms, my biological mom and my stepmom.
Excellent. To your mom and your stepmom?
Yeah.
And you use some kind of adjective. You said magical letters?
No, it's more of letters from the heart, wanting to capture what they've meant to me over the years, and who I am today was because of what they have poured into me.
Okay.
So it's like, talking about some stories in my life and, just saying how they have contributed to that.
Great. All right. And Becky, can you give us just a general idea? Thanks, Michelle. That's very clear. Clarity is excellent. What is your writing? What are your writing goals, Becky?
My writing goals are to help me with my blog and to make it sound probably a little bit more professional than what I'm doing with it right now, because I'm just writing from the heart, and that's not always very professional sounding. So,
you're judging that. We don't even know what you say.
yeah, well, you're right. I am judging myself. So that's what I'm looking for.
So for blog writing.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And Melissa?
So I would say, actually, it's interesting because as a child, I loved writing. I definitely communicate better through writing. I wanted to be an author as a kid. I don't really want to anymore, but it's that piece of sharing my story, my life, communicating that well in kind of the marketing, social media perspective, and not, because I come from this health background, not sounding too technical or too I tend to sound educational, I guess. So kind of coming from that place of bringing story into what I'm teaching.
Excellent. Yeah, the worst story writer is a PhD, so.
Yeah, that.
It's not professionalism that you need, but everybody talking about story and heart, that's what it's all about. So let's just begin by just telling us which fairy tale character you would align with, who you think you're like.
Hmm.
I'm going to pick in the middle. Becky.
I have no idea. Let me think about that.
Who you'd want to be?
I'm not sure. I always like Snow White because I just think she's so pure and so feminine, but I'm not the hugest lover of all animals. You know, they don't all come flocking to me. My neighbor's dogs hate me, you know.
Is
I-
Snow White big on animals? I don't make that association with her, but
I know I love them, but my husband does not. So we don't own any. We always said we had 4 kids. That was animal enough in our house. So
okay.
no dogs, no cats, no hamsters, no rabbits, no, yeah.
Okay, well, Snow White says something though. You use the word pure
White and pure. Yep.
and feminine,
Yep.
which is interesting considering what your topic is.
I know, right?
Becky teaches people, well, I'll let her tell her herself. How about you, Melissa?
I'm just thinking like Disney movie princesses.
Yeah.
But like the 2 that kind of come to my mind, and I'm not necessarily sure why, would be either like Cinderella or Rapunzel. And I always kind of just like the rags to riches kind of story, like that fairy tale of wouldn't it be nice if someone just came and swept me off my feet. You know,
Identify with that.
yeah.
But that's a good place to come from as a coach, I think, you know, wanting to take people somewhere different. How about you, Michelle?
I'm right there with Melissa. I can't think of the character, but I know the essence of the character, you know, having this dull life that you're not sure about, and then you go on a journey and just become. Yeah, I don't know which character that would be, but whichever one, that's me.
One of the beautiful, successful ones. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing. Now, just to get an idea of where we're starting from with writing, we're going to do a 5-minute exercise. But before we start, are there any questions? There must be 1,000, right? But okay. So what I'd like you to do is just look around you and pick an object that has some meaning for you, some attachment. And I'd like to take the next 5 minutes maximum for you to write about it, and then we'll share. And, you know, everything is revelatory, right? You think like, oh, I didn't pick the right character or whatever, but writing accentuates and asks you to think about what is different about you. So it's very, even though you think your answer wasn't spot on or something, the way you answer is very important to recognize and be proud of, like not apologize for it. That is you in some, there's a reflection in everything you do. So to write it is to reveal yourself. Like you say, you want to reach other people, share, whether it's your mother and your stepmother or a wider audience, Becky and Melissa, maybe perhaps in business. It's all the same. So I want you now to look at something around you, choose it. Everybody got an object? Yep, Becky?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'll start the clock. Have fun.
You said we're to write about it?
Yes, please. Uh-huh. Okay. And that is 5 minutes. All right. So let's hear what you got. Any volunteers to go first? You always get a lot of attention going first. Let me remind you of that.
Oh dear. nervously go first. All right, so how do we do? Say what we chose.
Yes, and while you're listening to what your friends have written, I want you to write down any words that stick out to you, like that are memorable, that something that just hits you. Okay, is that clear? Where did Becky go? Becky, did you?
I'm right here. I had to go get my item out of the cabinet so I can show it to you ladies because I think it's awesome.
All right, that's a great
show and tell.
Okay, show and tell. One moment.
See?
You wrote it without having it there, Becky, in front of you.
I thought it would make more sense for you all to see it, and then I can tell you what I wrote about it. So.
Oh no! First, we want to hear what you wrote. Then you can.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Melissa. I mean, Michelle. Sorry.
And Becky, you just missed that when you're listening to the person, I want you to jot down any words that kind of are memorable to you, or a little phrase,
Okay.
something that sticks out, like got a little bright light on it. Okay, Michelle.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so don't say what the thing is, just go ahead and read what I wrote.
Read what you wrote. Yeah.
All right, so for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29, verse 11. This gift was given to me at a point in time when my team leader believed in me more than I did in myself. This represents the fact that I am fully in the hands of God and a constant reminder that my future is in his hands. How could I not have believed back then? How could I not have believed that back then? Trying so hard to figure out my own and doubting myself and my journey. This was a gift I got over 7 years ago. Why have I allowed others to hold me high and not hold myself high? I trust daily as I move through this life that all my steps are ordered and all my plans that I perceive to be good or not so good are creatively intertwined in the journey I am on in life, a journey which continues. I am forever grateful for this gift, and I place it in front of me daily so I can be reminded that the plans of God are for me to prosper.
Okay, beautiful. For me, it was really strong. They believed in me and why you hadn't and why you did, and that others believed more than you. What did other people notice about what she wrote?
She used the words journey and gift at least a couple times. Trust.
Yeah, I agree. I heard especially the journey. Thanks. Okay.
Same with me. I wrote, she has God's plans mentioned a couple of times, and to prosper and to believe.
Okay, I would say that that's a good summary. Excellent. And what is your object, Michelle?
So it's a plaque I got. I was changing roles and it has the scripture engraved in it and my name in the background.
Beautiful. That's a lovely keepsake.
Yeah.
Goodness. All right.
And it has journey, yes. Michelle's journey. Yeah. So I guess you guys got it, right?
Yeah. That's a good sign. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Becky or Melissa, whoever would like to go.
I want to follow that. Hers were so good.
Who said that? They're all
I
good.
did.
All right. Let's get rid of the comparison.
I know.
You know what my friend calls it? Stinking thinking, to be comparing, right? And besides, like, this is the very first words that you guys wrote down, and you're already like questioning and negative about it. And when we read something that somebody has written, like in a book or something, they have spent probably a year at least, you know, any of the major books we read, and we criticize the very first word. So first suggestion is to cut the judgment. Okay, let's hear somebody.
And Melissa, while I was writing, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to read this. Oh my God.
You want to share, everybody, so it's a good time to start and just put it out there. It's crazy, but the roughest thing can end up being something valuable. I went to a poetry festival in the East. I drove all the way by myself in a little RV to New Jersey, because I'm crazy about poetry. Then one of my favorite poets, Billy Collins, got up there and he read this poem about taking Emily Dickinson's clothes off. And I was outraged. I just thought, that is so like typical male. Why would he want to take Emily Dickinson's clothes off? And I just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote when I was sitting there in the chair, right? Then when I got home and I shared it with a girlfriend, and it was nothing thought about it. A year later or so, she said, oh, you know, Joe, CBC Radio, which is huge here, it's Canadian Broadcasting Company, it broadcasts really over North America. She said they're having a birthday celebration for Emily Dickinson. It's December something. Why don't you send them your poem? Now, I would have been like you guys, like, oh, that's nothing. That's just some garbagey thing I wrote, right? And off the cuff. They called me immediately, hired me to read my poem in Pasadena, and it was broadcast over North America.
Wow.
The point is, like, I get shivers just talking about this because somehow you must just know that you can't judge what you write, but writing it gives that potential for something crazy, wild like that to happen. So I think if you can just kind of try and change your mindset that I want to share, and not everything's going to fall perfect, but it is, that's how it builds. That's how you get better. All right. Sorry for pontificating. Really important to take pride. It's like telling a kid sitting down to play chopsticks, like, that doesn't sound like Tchaikovsky. Well, great. You know? And it could be just as brilliant. Okay, who's next?
All right, well, I'll go. And I definitely was noticing that just even judging the object that I'm picking, and I don't write as much because I'm like judging as I'm even writing it.
Big rule. Cannot edit and judge.
No,
I know. And create at the same time, right?
Lots of judgment.
It's like, that push me, pull you. It's like saying, oh, giddy up. I want to write, run, right. Like, oh, no, maybe that's not so good. And you stop the horse, right? So the one is a creative exercise and the other is a judgmental. And they're just fighting each other. And you come up with nothing good. So you must let yourself go. All right, Melissa.
Okay. So I'm going to cut out the pieces that mention what it actually is. Okay. So first of all, my object that I chose is my favorite color. And it contains, something that's the foundation of our life and body. Without it, I could not survive. It nourishes me. It keeps me youthful. This object represents some of my values around health. It is glass because plastic contains endo-disrupting chemicals, which are harmful to our health and our hormone balance. It is the foundation of our life. I edited it. See, I edited myself and I re-edited that back in. Let's see. It helps me to clean out chemicals and byproducts of metabolism that are not meant to stay in our body. So yeah, see, I even edited it while I was doing it, and then I cut and pasted. So it's my water bottle. It's nothing fancy, but it was right there. And I was like, you know what? I love my water bottle. I love the color of it. So yeah.
That could be a whole blog post in itself. Love your water bottle.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Yes. Write up your business. You put a little picture of it and you write and embellish what you've started with. I mean, things like, I couldn't survive without it. What did other people notice?
So for me, I noticed that nourishment is critical for Melissa. Health is important, and taking care of your body.
Yes. Becky?
I wrote health and survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, biggies. And also this very scientific turn you took. You started to say, well, it's glass. And I'm thinking, oh, pretty. And then you give some like horrendous scientific. So I know that you're science-based as well. All right, excellent, thanks. Becky.
Oh gosh, yeah, I have to look at mine because I wrote in there some of what it is. So
well, that's okay. Actually, I expected everybody would write what it was, and I was surprised that they didn't. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So I love this item my son gave me because it reminds me of the love that he has for me. It was a birthday present from a couple of years ago, but it is precious. It has delicate glass and lots of detail. This also reminds me of how detailed and complex we all are. There are many layers to each of us, some soft, some delicate, some abrasive, some internal parts, some external parts, some refined gold, some turquoise, some silver, all are precious gems. We are all precious in God's eyes, and he made each one of us unique, different. Each individual is a masterpiece created by our Creator. None of us are the same. We are all special in our own separate ways. I love that about humanity. We need to learn to find the uniqueness in each other and accentuate it. Think to yourself, how can I help make this person better? What can I offer to help them?
You wrote all that in 5 minutes?
I did. I typed very fast. I typed it. I didn't handwrite it, but
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
The
So
amount.
let me show you this.
Okay.
Yes. Let me turn this virtual background off. You can see my dining room. All right. Yeah, I will never drink out of this thing. It's just too.
Oh.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
There's like turquoise on the, so there on top of the handle, there's like a bird and a leaf and, you know, delicate handle on it. And there's leaves on the bottom and the side, and it's gold and it's silver and it's glass. And yeah, it has its own little stand that it sits on. It's just, yeah. Anytime my grandson comes over, I'm like, don't go anywhere near that. Curious. Stay away from the cabinet.
All right.
It even has its own little spoon to stir your tea. I'm like, I drink out of this cup. Too pretty.
What does everybody notice?
I noticed love, precious. She talked about detail, uniqueness.
Yeah.
And she correlated that like to the item itself, but also to individuals.
Right. It was.
Yeah.
It was actually very clever. Like we think when we think about a poem can start with something as simple as a glass, but then it uses it as a symbol and as a metaphor for something deeper, right? And that's exactly what you accomplished, Becky. What element made it particularly that connected with us? There's no right answer.
I think the details of it and the sentimental attachment she was able to, and when she explained all the differences of the object and how we are unique and different and how we should treasure each other. That was something that jumped out for me.
About the physical details of it.
Yeah, yeah.
What about the connection? It struck me that her mention of family, that this had been given to her by her son, made it something that we could all kind of connect with the special person in our life. And you had some fantastic details to expand upon that you told us about. Can you think of one that she told us about that she hadn't written about?
The leaves specifically, I don't remember.
The leaves. What about, she said, I never drink out of this. I mean, that is how special it is. As soon as my grandson comes over, I tell him, don't you go anywhere near it. Now, that is your opening line of your story.
Okay.
Because that is, it's rather than just this meat and potatoes, it's something different. And it's very immediate. We know it's going to be something special. Don't you ever touch that, right? Don't you go in there. Nowadays, the attention span is so short in writing that you can't, you know, the old novels used to have pages and pages of description and the breeze and the branches and the blah, blah, blah. And now nobody has time for that. And so you need to, even though you get to the branches and all of that, you need to first grab somebody's attention. And so this is always the symbol I use, that I use my earrings. So you need something that sparkles, something different. See, where's my thing? To get attention. So if you can remember my rhinestone earrings, that's a good way to start your writing. So but you don't need to plan it in the beginning. You write freely, Melissa, especially you write the whole thing and then look back and find what is the kicker sentence,
Okay.
right? So now I'd like to do some story writing. Let's see, it would apply for you, Melissa, business-wise, Becky, business-wise, and Michelle, then we'll just stay on your theme of drawing attention to what your mother and stepmother did, draws attention to, contributes to you, right? So I want you now to think about detail in your story. So generic doesn't mean anything to us. When we say, a boy and girl walked in the room, we can see 1,000 different things, right? Scraggy guy, beautiful girl, a decrepit room, a castle. So it is in the telling of the detail. And that is the title of my workshop, is the one important aspect that changes all of your writing. The more specific you are, the more you draw us in. When you go to a movie theater and you sit down, think about, or you sit down in front of Netflix nowadays, but think about the amount of detail you get before anybody said anything. You see the room, you get some indication of social class. What else do you see?
The speakers, the curtains, the chairs.
Yeah, what the chairs are like tells you a heck of a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they worn? Are they brand new? Are they fancy? Are they blah, blah, blah? So you get a whole setting. You get a time period. You get a social class period. You get so much information, but it's specific. So we know who we're talking about. And it's that kind of grounding that you need to give us when you're writing. So rather than the generic girl and boy walk in the room, the specificity, how do they walk in the room? Do they trip? Are they nervous? Are they laughing? What are they wearing? All of those details. I'd like to read just something to give you an example to go on. Has anybody read the memoir called Educated? I highly recommend it. It's fabulous. Oh my God. It's about a story of a woman who was raised, well, I won't spoil it right now. So it begins, her very opening. I'm standing on the red railway car that sits abandoned next to the barn. The wind soars, whipping my hair across my face and pushing a chill down the open neck of my shirt. The gales are strong this close to the mountain, as if the peak itself is exhaling. Down below, the valley is peaceful, undisturbed. Meanwhile, our farm dances, the conifer trees sway and the thistles quiver, blah, blah, blah. The hill is paved with wild wheats. Turning toward our house on the hillside, I see movements of a different kind, tall shadows, stiffly pushing through the currents. My brothers are awake, testing the water. I imagined my mother at the stove, hovering over bran pancakes. I picture my father by the back door, lacing his steel-toed boots and threading his calloused hands into welding gloves. On the highway below, the school bus rolls past without stopping. I'm only 7, but I understand that it is this fact more than any other that makes my family different. We don't go to school. Dad worries the government will force us to go, but it can't. 4 of us children don't have birth certificates. We have no medical records. All my father's stories were about our mountain or valley. He never told me what to do if I left the mountain. He never told me how I would know when it was time to come home. So, did you get a lot of visuals?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, wow.
It's one of the most magnificent openings I've read, and I skipped a few, so it wasn't quite as good as if you read it, it would have been. But she is somebody who was, you couldn't even say homeschooled. It was very brutal, but he didn't allow any of the kids to go to school, and she goes on and graduates from Harvard. But it's an amazing, amazing story. Have any of you watched Hillbilly Elegy that's on Netflix? That's kind of a similar story, and true. So anyway, the detail. Now, if I'd like you to think of some kind of story that you'd like to write for your business or for your collection, Michelle. And we'll see if we can make some improvements on it just in our short time together by adding detail. So Melissa, can you think of a story? You know how in business now, it's all that your story introduces what you've overcome, so that to give somebody else confidence that they can do it because you've walked ahead of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a story that would illustrate that for your work?
Yeah, I can. I'll have to kind of narrow it down a little bit. So like which piece of it specifically, but yeah.
Okay, okay. And Becky?
Yes.
Okay. And Michelle, can you think of something you'd like to start writing for your
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just write freely, no editing, Melissa. And we'll read it, and we like when you're writing it, just think like, oh, I need as much detail as possible, because you can always chop out later. The analogy that we use for writing is that to build a sand castle, you need a whole bunch of sand. So you get more than you need in the beginning, so that you've got the beautiful goal to narrow down to. But if you don't have enough junk, then you can't pick and choose, right? So just freely let the brain go, as I say, deep and narrow. Don't cover 10,000 subjects. Just go deep and narrow on one thing and drill down. So is it clear?
Yeah, I have a question. So I noticed as I was writing my first one, like I think kind of choppy, like, oh, there's this piece and then there's this piece, but not necessarily like in a flowing way. Do I just start writing that way for now? It's more of like bullet point thinking, I guess, is kind of.
I'm really glad you asked that. That's all good, Melissa, because you're not going to just have one piece of writing that defines your business or your life, right? Mm-hmm. So what you do with those distractions, if I may call them that, is you jot them down on another piece of paper. Okay. So they're not lost, because you know those tidbits kind of come from heaven sometimes, right? Like, oh God, I have to remember to add that, right? So you just bullet point those on the side, but stay on one long, deep and narrow path. Okay. Because it's in the forcing and forcing and forcing. The one thing you keep looking, you find something great.
Okay.
Any questions about that? If you get other ideas, you put it in you keep a little book, little thing like this that you write your ideas down in, so that they're never lost, but they don't distract you.
Okay.
Okay. So deep and narrow and details. Okay. And just choose, a story. It seems our time is so short, but to have a story, you have to have a problem, right? You have to have a problem. If everything's cool, you don't have a story. So Cinderella, wanted to go to the ball. It was bad enough her mom died, but then she got the worst stepmother in the world, and the stepsisters, and it just got worse and worse and worse, right? And then you get a solution, or if you don't get a solution, you have a tragedy. So you think of your story as you take your characters and throw them up a tree. They're up a tree. The wife is ready to leave the marriage or whatever, or somebody's on the verge of ill health, or a daughter is in danger. And then you throw stones at them. Because, you know, life is like that, isn't it? One thing happens and then it just gets worse. And it gets worse. And people coming to you in your business will have found themselves in that position. Maybe they have doubted, like the mother connection or something, whatever the thing is. So, and then you solve their problems. So basically, that's what we're going to try and capture in this next little writing exercise, and something relevant to your business. Any questions? Have fun, like that enthusiasm of, you know, that cup that you had. Yes. Okay, go. Just tidy it up if you can. Okay. Who would like to go first? Is nobody hearing me? Am I on mute? Now, who hasn't gone first yet? Becky, you need to unmute yourself. Okay,
Yeah,
Becky.
I was still typing, but it's okay. I can ad lib.
Okay. All right. And the same thing goes now. Listen for what sticks out, because that's why we remember stories. And, you know, it's not just Little Red Riding Hood, but it's Red Riding Hood. We all remember that she had a red cloak because it reminds us of blood, the wolf, all of those. So write down what sticks out for you in Becky's story. Okay.
Okay. She went to work every day. This particular day was a warm spring day. Lots of sun, lots of birds chirping. The flowers smelled wonderful. She had a normal 9-to-5 job where people looked up to her. She was a very hard worker, and her supervisor approved of her work. I wasn't sure how to word that, but anyway, this particular day, she wore her tan colored suit with white high heels. A coworker remarked a little later in the day that she always seemed to be upset when she came to work in the mornings. And everyone noticed she always headed to the restroom as soon as she got to work.
Okay, thank you. So because our time is limited, let's just see how more detail could have been added so that we could have had even a lusher picture.
Okay.
It's a great start. I love the opening. What was your first line?
She went to work every day. It was a warm spring day, lots of sun.
So
chirping flowers, smelled wonderful.
Well, let's hear some ideas from your other listeners.
I think she was pretty detailed, but maybe what was the work? What kind of work was it?
Good point. What was the work? We don't know if she's going to a brick factory or she's going to Givenchy, right? Huge difference. What day was it? Give it a name. It was Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
12th of February. Make us get the specific details that catch us. Otherwise, it's a little too generic. Which birds? What birds? I don't know if you're talking hawks or robins. What kind of effect do you want? Do you want a robin effect, which is sweet and twittery? Or do you want that it's, you know, the bald eagle standing on the top of a telephone pole? What do you want? What bird or birds?
That particular day?
For your story.
Gotcha.
What kind of birds?
Something for a robin. It was a pretty birds chirping, not mean and dark and sinister.
Pretty bird, right? We're getting closer. The robin, we can see it, right?
Yes.
And we want to see. We are visual people. We take in, I think it's something like 85% of our experiences through visual than through our other senses. So name that bird, name the job. What flowers?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
You invent them, darling. You invent them. Right? Does everybody see this? Like, are they yellow? Are they pink? And
Gotcha.
Once you've had your experience and you know your story, then you are now writing for the reader. You need to, you're the ringmaster. You can create the effect that you want. It doesn't matter a dang about the truth. You'll never get away with saying, but that's what happened. Nobody cares. You are now creating a story. You have now become a creator. So you take the raw material, but you can bend it. If you want some mystery in there, you could talk about, the screech of an owl or something. Why was there an owl at high noon? You get to create the effect for the reader. So you do that by adding those specific details. And Melissa gave a great start right away. We have no idea what kind of job. So detail, Becky, all the way down, and you'll make them like, now I'm curious. What is everybody curious about right now?
Why she goes to the bathroom.
Yeah.
What she got going in the bathroom?
That was my next paragraph, and you told me to stop.
No, do you see that detail has got our attention?
Mm-hmm.
It's a question mark. Is she going in there to snort coke, or is she, making out with the guy at the computer station, or just trying to waste time? It's endless, right? The possibilities. But you put a question. You left us with a question. That's a good thing. Okay. Does that help a little bit for how to improve the writing?
Yes, because I thought I was detailed already, and I found not detailed at all like I thought I was. I told you she had a tan suit and white shoes, but you didn't care about that.
Good.
Yeah, I picked up that she was classy from that. I was like, wow, detail in the clothing. She's
Okay, but that makes another really good point. The detail, like in the first draft, yes, you put it all in, she had a cracked tooth in the front or whatever. But after you start to craft the story more and more, like you write always your first draft and leave it at least for a day, right? Then you start to see which details are important for the story. If that tan suit was important, maybe she only wore that tan suit every day, so she was impoverished or something, I don't know. So then you start to pick and choose the details that add to the story.
Okay.
There's a joke always, like if some people are having an important conversation around the table and a fly lands. Now the novelist can write the next 5 pages about the fly, but it's not important, right?
Yeah.
Because you like to describe the fly and the transparent wings and the blue and the black. Not important for the story. So you've got to watch when you use your details that it serves the story, helps us, not diverts.
wow, Joe, you're good.
Well, that's good. I'm here to help. I hope you want more help after this. All right. This is your first taste. Okay. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
All right, Melissa.
Okay. I sat in the small room of the naturopath's office with my sweet 2-year-old son. He sat on the floor and played cards with my stubborn 4-year-old daughter. I had just received the news that I was halfway expecting, but also dreaded. My egg and milk loving little boy was sensitive to not only eggs and milk, but also wheat and almonds. I was 6 months pregnant with my third and already overwhelmed with the amount of effort it took to care for these 2 precious but demanding children. How in the world was I supposed to take these foods out of his diet? How do you explain to a 2-year-old why he can't have his favorite foods anymore? That's as far as I got.
Well, I would like a little more enthusiasm in and that's as far as I got.
Yes.
Yeah, darling. All right.
Be
Good.
proud of your work, Melissa.
Yeah.
Goodness sake. Yes. All right. So I can see the scene. Has somebody got some questions or comments?
I picked up that the kids have different personalities.
Stubborn. I like the one that you use the word stubborn for the daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, what kind of cards were they playing?
There's cars, like driving.
Oh, cars.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What color was the car?
I don't know. I get to make it up, I guess. I don't remember.
That's the fun part. Yes. I mean, I could have been cards, like it could have been fish or rummy or, but if cards do it, then he's zooming, something that helps us see it, a little tin red something or other, or a fire engine, whatever. And then the sensitivity. Now, this is obviously what you teach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And that it was your own son.
Right.
Makes it everybody can identify. Could you give him a name? Doesn't have to be your son's name. What would be a name?
My son's name is Easton.
Okay. And you're happy to use it?
Yeah.
It's a good name because it's memorable too, right? It's not Mike or something we forget right away. Easton is good. Okay. And we need to know did you say his age?
2. Yeah.
Okay. You said you were overwhelmed and you're pregnant again. Could you have showed that in some way instead of just telling us? Were they pulling at your, I remember my daughter used to just grab me around the legs and could hardly move, she didn't want me to be leaving her or something. So some action that could have demonstrated, you had to peel him off your legs to move to the front desk, or
That's my 4-year-old now.
well, you can make him 4 too.
Yeah.
Whatever serves your story. But I think it's a great start for your business. Now, going back to the business, Becky, do you want to tell people what your business is?
Sure.
Okay.
So on my paperwork, I've changed my title several times. I'm listed as a women's empowerment coach, but the majority of my business is teaching women how to shoot guns and also how to protect themselves with pepper spray and stun guns. So it's a protective training that I offer.
So the reason I'm asking is there was nothing in the beginning of the story that gave me any hint of that.
It was further down. It was when you cut me off, the next paragraph was about the reason why she's crying and why I started my business.
Okay, so you might want to, move that up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm fascinated if she's crying and why. And then it would be a lead in. Like Melissa's already given us a hint about where her business is going, yeah? So it might be a good idea.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you both. Are you proud of your work, Melissa? All right.
I'm proud of your work, Melissa.
Thank you.
The only bad thing is not to try at all, not to write it at all, thinking that, it's the only way to get better. And you've got so much. That's so much. Go on. Okay. Michelle.
All right. It's Tuesday at 8 a.m. and I'm standing in the middle of the road, clenching my pencils in my hand with my backpack and my books in the other hand. There's a car in front of me, but I can't seem to move. My friends are calling to me, but I am still, and everyone seems also to be still. There's someone in the car that is familiar, but the day doesn't seem real. Am I dreaming? No, I'm not. It's a real event. As the car starts to move and she's leaving in a car, dogs are barking, others are smiling, but why am I still? Unaware of the emotions I am feeling, this is not happening. My siblings are telling me it's time for school, but all I can think of is how will I get through the day? My mom is leaving again and I will not be able to survive. I keep thinking of the exam I have today and how I will sit it with my mom leaving. As I stare across the road, I realize I'm no longer a child, but an adult who was able to make it without my mom present.
Wow. That's also right on cue. Again, I would say that when you rewrite, maybe if my mom was leaving again, that's a kicker sentence.
Yeah.
I would suggest just when you go back to rewrite that maybe, because that sets it up instead of
Yeah.
a slow build to it, like then you can go back and set, the car and the dream and all of that. Any questions, everybody, or comments?
I finally think I'm catching on to
All right.
putting the kicker first and then describing it all later instead of all the detail about, the time of day and what day it was and the birds and the flower, whatever, all that stuff comes secondary. So you want to get your attention with something dramatic, I guess, right? And then you can explain it further down.
Yeah, because we don't care as much until we know
Gotcha.
that there's something really at the core of all this, like mother's leaving, and not just leaving, but leaving again. I mean, my arms just shiver at the words, So yes, that's well put, Becky. I think you said something was clenching.
Yeah, my pencil and my books. I had them in my hand.
That's a fabulous choice of verb. Instead of you're just holding them, you're clenching immediately. It's a great detailed word to use. What kind of feeling was over the piece for everybody?
Sorrow.
Sorrow, mystery, a little bit of mystery, like she can't move and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. So we know it's going to be a deep, touching story in some way. So excellent. Tell us who your siblings are, brothers, sisters?
Yeah, brother and a sister.
Okay. And you could be a little more even detailed about that. What kind of dogs?
Yeah, okay.
I can see, I can see a little, what do they call this, Chihuahua? Or I can see a German Shepherd. It makes a difference for the story.
Yeah.
Or is it a wolfhound? Is it a cute little cuddly thing? Or, it all lends to the atmosphere that you're creating and takes us with you. Okay. So that's my introduction to the fundamentals of writing. If you just begin with that one important thing about knowing that you need to add the specific details to get us involved, that will go a long way. And not to worry about overwriting in your first draft. You'll have lots of time to edit, Melissa. And just stay on the one topic and put the side topics to the side. So do you have any questions?
This was just great for me. My first time, it's just, yeah.
So what would you take away from today, Michelle?
That I get to just jot down my thoughts and not overthink it. And as I write, it will all come together. Yeah.
You have that confidence. Yeah. It does get down to a belief in ourselves. You want to write for a reason, so don't then slap yourself around, but to honor the urge that you have to write something and share something. It's a very beautiful thing to do. Think of all the great books that we've read and how much we've appreciated them, or the stories we've listened to, so you're just joining that beautiful tradition. And that if the fact that you want to make it good too is something to really pat yourself on the back about. Becky, what do you take away? Although you did express it rather well.
Well, yeah, just the details. I didn't think people would care about the color of the birds or the colors of the flowers or the what color the sky is this day. Is it blue or is it stormy or is it? Yeah, that kind of detail. I didn't think really mattered. So, and now I know it does.
Yes. And why would you say it matters?
Because you told me it did.
No, that's what I'm not ending there, darling. I'm smarter than that.
You're capturing their attention. You're trying to draw your readers into the story.
So that they can what?
I guess understand where you're coming from, understand.
I don't think it's understand necessarily. It's going to build to understanding, but so they can.
Oh, see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That draws them in if they can see it, right?
Okay, that's right. You said that.
And you've got lots of time to build the emotion and all of that as well.
Okay.
Melissa, what do you take away from today?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, the first piece is I just have to create the time to actually sit down and start writing. There's that that overwhelmed mom part of me just feels like, oh, it's going to be so much work. And so I never start, I never even create that first draft. So that's the first piece for me. And then I think the second is just, there are those pieces that I don't remember. And so I don't add that detail, but it's okay to embellish on some of those things. We don't have to have 100% of it perfectly accurate.
No, you always have creative license. Absolutely. And especially you're creating your story for a point, right? So you need to do that. You need to direct the reader. So as far as being overwhelmed, you build by small parts, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit down and create the whole thing. It just doesn't work that way. And you said the details that you don't remember, it could be when you come back to it, when you open it up a day from now, oh, some other detail will slip in. But until you start, you don't even see the holes, right? I don't remember anything, but it's amazing once you have something to start from, right? And that's the same reason for giving a detail. If you just say, if I told you, well, write anything, go ahead, write something. My God, what would you write? It's too much, right? So as soon as we choose something to write about, so you sit down and you say, I'm going to write for 10 minutes today, but you make a choice about it. I'm just going to write about this pen. And you'd be surprised what you could write about this pen. Mm-hmm. But choosing is the important thing. And then going with it. And by the time you write for 10 minutes every day for 2 weeks, you'd be surprised what you've got. So how can I help you further? Is anyone interested in continuing? I can tell you what I offer if you're interested to go further. I think that at where you're starting from with a lot to put together, that it's helpful to have other people's opinion. As you learn more, you get more insightful about hints to give your fellow writers. So I do have a magic writing circle, which is just 4 women and myself. And we meet once a week for 6 weeks. And it's 2 hours. So everybody prepares work and presents it ahead of time so that everybody has a chance to look through and circle things that they like or questions that they have. And then when we get together, everybody gets to read their writing and get comments, feedback from myself. I look at it in advance. I make my comments, and so does everybody else. So that's a very productive way to start. I think, number one, it forces you to write something every week and keeps you actually having more than just sort of one person that you're writing for. It's like, oh, I don't want to be the only one in the class, not to have anything, right? So I've never had that somebody didn't write. It's just, there's something about the pressure of the group. It's a good thing, right? We need a little bit of pressure to get us going. So, and you can write as much as you want during the week, but we only review in detail 250 words. So it gives you a chance to create more, but get specific information about one piece. And the way you write one piece is probably the way you've written everything. So then you can apply what you learn. So that's one way to work with me. Otherwise, you can do a 3-month stint and get a whole book, first draft. But I can share the link to the ways to work with Joe. Let me see if I can get it up here. Where did I put it? I have it here. Shall I just send it to you in an email, perhaps?
Sure.
That'll work.
Yes, that would be fine for me.
Okay, because spelling it and everything is just a nuisance. So, okay, I'll just send that in an email. And I appreciate your cooperation today and, you know, willingness to put yourself out there. That's really the important thing about writing. So I'd love to hear from you if anyone wants to comment on, send me a little something about what you thought about the workshop. That's always helpful for me. And I think you all have really good stories to go with. So just keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. This was very, very helpful. Very, very helpful.
I'm really happy about that. All right, I see the minds moving, so that's a good thing. All right, cheerio. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Good night. Nice meeting you
Nice
meeting you as well.
guys.
Yeah, okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.